Joining me now from Williams Bay, Wisconsin, candidate in the Republican primary for Wisconsin's 1st Congressional District, Paul Nehlen. Paul, I have to ask, you lost to Paul Ryan 84% to 16% in the primaries in 2016. So how are you planning to rally the Ryan Republican vote in this primary?
Well, you have to remember, while I lost 84 to 16, I only had 4 months to run, and I really ran to stop Trans-Pacific Partnership, and we stopped that trade deal. And Paul Ryan, at the very end of our campaigns, said that Trans-Pacific Partnership was bad after he himself had been whipping votes for Obama to get that. So I think people now have an idea who I am. I've done over 20 public town halls here in Wisconsin. Paul Ryan did one fake town hall with CNN where they planted the questions and he knew the answers prior to people asking the questions. So that's a huge difference. It's a huge difference now than when Paul Ryan really ran uncontested for 9 terms in a primary situation.
Another question I have to ask. You were suspended from Twitter, you were reinstated, and then now you've been completely banned from Twitter for, quote, anti-Semitic and racist tweets, including your tweet about Meghan Markle that was followed by a not apology. What is your response?
Well, that's interesting that you would bring this up. These are really leftist talking points. And I don't recall you coming to my defense when Twitter was attacking my First Amendment rights. So I'd love to know if you're in support of my First Amendment rights to have this conversation that I'm having with you on social media.
Of course, in response, or I of course support your First Amendment rights, which is why you're on the show.
Wonderful. Well, that's great.
I just wanted to know your response for being suspended.
Sure, and I think that I have proposed shall not censor legislation, and it's on my website. If you go to electnehlen.com/shall not censor, there's one solution to this problem, and I'd love for you to have my legislative director on here, Josh Smith, because that particular piece of legislation that we wrote, it's very short. It is the only solution that we have to these mega monopolies, which have decided that Republicans don't get to speak freely. And all I'm suggesting is that our legal speech, our legal First Amendment protected free speech is protected on social media, which is the place that the Supreme Court has said is the new de facto town hall.
And I agree that everyone should have free speech on Twitter, on every social media. They shouldn't shut down anyone. So you've aligned yourself with people such as the very highly controversial anti-Semitic Holocaust denier and former KKK Grand Wizard David Duke. David Duke is a white supremacist.
Well, you know, I've gone on very far left shows as well. Here in the district, we've got something called Devil's Advocate Radio. And they were terrible Bernie socialists, and I went on and spoke on their show. I go on every show I'm invited on if I can physically make it onto the show, because I want everybody, their free speech to be carried on. I want a wall on the southern border to protect all American citizens. We have a murder and homicide epidemic south of this border. 2.5 million people have been killed since 2001, I believe, south of this border in primarily 4 countries, one of which is Mexico, which is the second most dangerous country in the world. So I go everywhere to tell my story and to say, it doesn't matter to me what color you are. If you're an American citizen, it doesn't matter to me what religion you are. I am going to work hard to make sure that you're safe, you can speak freely, that you have a job, that we're not bringing in H-2B, H-1B visa people to replace you. Paul Ryan had a big predilection for bringing in people from other countries into this country in order to displace American workers. And we saw that at a pharmaceutical company right over the border. A bunch of people in my district lost their jobs because of Paul Ryan.
And we're very advocate supporters of securing the border here on this show. So we appreciate that. But you don't strike me as naive, so I'm sure you understand how your relationship with David Duke looks on the outside. I mean, so can you clarify for our viewers, do you support his white supremacist views?
I'm not supporting any white supremacist views. I'm a pro-white candidate. I'm a white guy. You might not have noticed, but
I'm a
I'm
white
a white
girl. I
guy.
see that.
Okay. Okay. Well, and so there's the NAACP and many other organizations for African Americans. There's the ADL and the SPLC and many other organizations for Jewish people. There are many organizations for folks who are of races other than whites. And so when I suggest that I'm going to stand up for white people, people immediately suggest that that's either racist or anti-Semitic. It's neither of those two things. It is neither of those two things. When I say I'm pro-white, that doesn't mean I'm anti anything else. So no, I don't support any what's called white supremacism. But let me ask you this question. I've asked many people this question, and maybe you'll be the one who can finally answer.
Okay, I'm the one asking questions here. So I have one more question. You brought up Jewish media. So in several interviews, you've avoided answering this very, very, very simple question. So I have to ask you: do
Sure.
you believe that the Holocaust happened?
Why are we talking about the Holocaust? Why are you asking
These
about
are
the
very
Holocaust to
important
me right now?
questions
This is a very
that
it's a very
people
simple
are
answer.
wondering.
It happened a long time ago. I have no reason to
It's
have
a yes or no
discussions
question.
about the
It's a yes or
Holocaust.
no question. Do you believe that the Holocaust
I have
happened?
no reason to talk about the Holocaust. That's not what my platform is about.
It's
That's
a
not
yes
what my
or no
candidacy
question.
is about.
It is a yes or no
I'm not
question.
having this discussion with you about the Holocaust because it has no bearing on what I'm talking about here in Wisconsin's first district for America First. Okay? I'm an America First candidate. And when you don't want to talk about America First things, I question your motivation for that. And I suspect your
The
listeners are going
Republican
to
Party
question
platform
your
has been very
motivation for that.
pro-Israel for a very long time. The Republican Party platform has been very pro-Israel for a very long time. So
Sure.
how do you consider yourself a Republican, yet all of these anti-Semitic views that you've been putting out on social media, how do you defend it?
I haven't put out anti-Semitic views. I've put out counter-Semitic views because many of those views that came against me were by Jewish people. In fact, I counted up in 1 month the people that attacked me, and lo and behold, 92% of those people were Jewish. They represent 2% of the American population. So statistically, that's unreasonable. And I didn't make a list of Jews. I made a list of people who attacked me. And so people wanted to suggest that was a list of Jews. No, but it was a list predominantly populated by Jews. So I'm asking the question, why, if pro-white is white supremacy, what is pro-Jewish?
I just asked you a question, and thank you for answering it. And we're all out of time. Thank you. Coming up next, best of